Yo, what's up everybody? How's it going? Today we're doing another deck interview with Free Elk. This one is going to be exciting. It's very different from what Snail presented to us in the last episode. The goal is very simple. We got a guest today, Elk, who is going to tell us about his favorite Commander deck. Since Elk doesn't use a camera and instead uses a little PNG tube thing, I have been transformed! It's terrible. Leave me alone. I tried my best. So first, tell me a little bit about yourself, and then maybe get started on what's your favorite deck.
I'm 3 Elk. I stream on Twitch, sometimes with Maldhound, where we review custom cards or we review sets that come out. I also stream independently on Tuesdays and Sundays, where I do Commander deck reviews. And then I have a YouTube channel where I talk about EDH and stuff, and I'm also 1/3 of the Magic Mirror podcast. There's a lot I do, actually, now that I think about it.
Very busy. I mean, that's good. Diversify.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. My favorite deck is Kellen Daring Traveler. It's really tight. I almost thought about showing you Cormella. I play a lot of, I would say the top 20% of my decks, I play 80% of the time. And that's evenly split amongst all of them. I play them very frequently together. That being said, out of all the ones that I play, Kellen's probably my favorite. Kellen is a Hatebears kind of strategy with a prison-y top end that just completely locks out the game in a really weird way. I really like having a bunch of little stupid creatures and a bunch of protection spells for those annoying creatures, and then no one can blow up the stax piece that's slowing them down. That always delights me indefinitely.
So it's a Hatebears deck. It's a stax deck. Looking at the core strategy here as well, it seems to be almost a soft combo deck in addition to that. Could you maybe take us through a little bit, what is the main end goal? What's your primary plan to win a match with this deck?
Yeah, so this deck's actually built around Congregation at Dawn. The deck's name for the longest time was just Congregation at Dawn, and that's an instant for green, and a white. You can search your library for 3 creature cards and reveal them, shuffle your library, and put those cards on top of it in any order. And what you get is you get Bruna, Gisela, Gaddock. Those are the 3 creatures that you get. And then you draw Bruna for turn. You attack with Kellen or mill Bruna with a map token. Either way, you can mill it with the Kellen Daring Traveler. And then Gaddock on top of the library. You either draw it next turn or you draw it that same turn by attacking with Kellen if you used a map token to mill Brizella. Or Bruna. Not Bruna, you draw Bruna. Gisela, you milled Gisela. Okay, great. And basically at the end of that, it would be 8 mana total. No, it would be 10. To both reanimate Gisela with the cast trigger of Bruna, which says return an angel or human from the graveyard to the battlefield. And then you have Gaddock. And then on the end step, you meld Bruna and Gisela together into Brizella. And so with those 2 in play together, Gaddock and Brizella, you have your opponents can't cast spells with mana value 3 or less, and Gaddock says no non-creatures with mana value 4 or greater. So the only thing your opponents can play are big creatures, which they're probably not bigger than a 9/10 flying first strike vigilance lifelink. So I don't really care about that much. And then I beat you to death with an angel. That's the game plan. I just lock you out with that weird combo.
There's also a secondary line though.
Oh yeah, this one's a lot more simple, and it's a lot more played. It's just Kudo, King Among Bears, Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite, which makes all creatures into 2/2s, and then all creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 and turn into 0/0s, and mine are all 4/4s, which just locks out creatures. It's a bit softer though, because you can still get board wiped or what have you.
So I think this is really interesting. What bracket would you play this deck in?
3. This is a very firm 3. This is not going to live at 4 at all. And at 2, it's a little bit too mean.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, for a bracket 2 environment. So I mostly play in bracket 2 games, just because that's kind of the environment that I have in my LGS. And frankly, I also really like bracket 2. I think it's a lot of fun. But I think it's really interesting how this is a deck that I could never, ever bring into a pot like that, because it would just kind of completely ruin those poor precons.
Yeah, my playgroup does like to play with a little bit of power, but we don't like to. We'll send it up to bracket 4 sometimes. We all have our own bracket 4 deck that we like to play, but typically we're hovering around 3 most of the time, and we're just doing silly stuff with cards. At the end of the day, this deck is built around my favorite card, Bruna, the Fading Light, and it's doing it in a way where I'm trying to make her the best card in the deck by using these powerful cards that wouldn't be at home at bracket 2. That's why I really like about bracket 3 is you can take these really janky pet cards and really accelerate them by including busted cards that really highlight their strengths.
So Bruna is a 7-mana creature. Your plan here is to play Bruna and then reanimate a Gisela out of the graveyard. But that's still, like, you still need 7 mana for that. Like, how are you getting up there? Just a land a turn? Because I didn't see all that much ramp in this list.
There's actually a surprising amount of ramp. So the big thing with Kellen is that his attack trigger will draw you a card if it's a mana value 3 or less creature. So I do really prize creatures. But the ramp package in this is actually very robust. There's about 11 pieces. It's mostly in the form of creatures, though, so I don't blame you for missing a few of those. Secura Tribe Elder, Farhaven Elf, Heronblade Elite, Wood Elves, Birds of Paradise, Avacyn's Pilgrim, Insidious Fungus, right? Like, these are all creatures that ramp. Some of them are dorks, and some of them actually tutor a land into play, right? And then there's just the traditional Farseek Nature's Lore in there as well, although I tried to, in 3 visits, I tried to, like, damp down on that a little bit more, though. Like, I would prefer my ramp to be on a creature than on a 2-mana instant or 2-mana sorcery.
No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. I do think it's just kind of like interesting how differently we view this already. Because you say ramp, you have 11 cards at ramp. That's a lot, right? That is still a really solid package. That to me is my starting point. I don't even play with less than that.
It depends on your deck, right? I feel like a lot of decks probably just shouldn't be having that much ramp in them. You really need a top end to be ramping into. Like, you can't be like Luris of the Dream Den. I'm gonna ramp.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course. Yeah,
yeah, but like it's really context dependent if you want to ramp or curve out. And it's weird because this deck wants to do a mixture of both. Like, it is really important to get like the early game Hatebears online, and then also very important to also be ramping. And then sometimes you mix that with creature ramp in there.
All right, I think we're maybe like already going into a bit like of the details. That let's go take a step back really quick and have a look at Kellen, Daring Traveler. Can you maybe tell me about like what he does and how would a usual play pattern with Kellen work out? Like, what are the first couple of turns with this commander like, and why do you enjoy him?
Yeah, so Kellen is a 2-mana 2/3 with an adventure. So I'll read the adventure first. It's for 1 green mana. You create X map tokens where X is 1 plus the number of opponents who control an artifact. So you get a map token, bare minimum, the pity map token, consolation prize, but then you get multiple more map tokens if your opponents have artifact ramp, etc. And then the other side is a 2 mana, so 1 and a white, 2/3, legendary creature, human fairy scout. And whenever it attacks, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature with mana value 3 or less, you put it into your hand. Otherwise, you mill it. You put it directly into your graveyard. Or you may put it into your graveyard. You don't have to mill it. I really like Kellen because it's the perfect 1 or 2 drop, and I don't really care about him that much. So what I like about him most is that he sets up a mill in the future. So I can play 1 green mana on turn 1 if I don't have another turn 1 play and just make a map token. And then that's just there forever. Alternatively, I can just curve that directly into Kellen on turn 2. Typically, though, what will end up happening is I'll have a turn 1 mana dork, and I'll play that mana dork instead. And then turn 2, I can play him like a 3-drop and go, right, map token, and then the 2-drop. Sometimes what I'll do is if I have a 2 mana ramp spell, specifically one that enters untapped, like Nature's Lore or 3 visits, I can go Nature's Lore on turn 2, and then off the untapped land I get, I can go Journey On, which is the adventure for 1 green. Yep. And then next turn I can play Kellen alongside a 3-drop, right? So there's a lot of breakpoints in that early curve. But what I like about Kellen the most is his top deck manipulation. That's what I prize him for the most.
In a way, he does just explore on attack, right? That's something that I noticed. I took the deck for like a couple of test drives just to like see what it feels like. And what I thought was really interesting, and this is something I feel like isn't quite as noticeable when you just read the text, is how good Kellen is at making sure that your draws are useful.
Oh yeah, Kellen is really good because he not only like is top deck manipulation, he also performs the role of card advantage without actually drawing cards, which is hilarious. Most of my deck is creatures of mana value 3 or less, so he's surprisingly consistent with how often he hits with his attack trigger.
This is something I think is also very interesting. I watched your video about this deck. right? And you said that Spirit of the Labyrinth, generic stacks piece, but if you can break the parity with Kellen, hilarious.
Oh yeah, I love Spirit of the Lab.
So you are a player that enjoys kind of like putting rules onto the other players and then disobeying them yourself.
Yes, I love that so much. I love when I can build a prison and just like chokehold my opponents lovingly into death. It's great. I like those things that are symmetrical. I wish Drain of Magistrate was symmetrical, honestly. It would be a lot more fun of a card if like, everyone couldn't do it. Oh, I'm so mad it's only opponents.
It's too good. It's too good. When you play this deck, do the other players kind of like appreciate that in the same way that you do?
My playgroup loves Hatebears.
That's interesting. Yeah. Tell me more about that.
My playgroup, they'll always joke like, oh, you're playing Kellen, awful, whatever. But like at the end of the day, they all, I've asked them multiple times because like there's such a strong reaction to stacks in Commander. I'll ask them every so often, I'm like, how do you guys feel about Kellen? And they'll say, yeah, he's annoying, but like it's fair, it's cool. Like, there's an understanding that we're playing with power a little bit, right? Like my friend has like an infinite combo Grim Grin Zombies deck. My other friend has like a Gifts Ungiven, like artifacts combo, like, right. There's a lot of combo in my meta, but there's also a lot of like tempo and aggro. And whenever I disrupt one of their things with a hate piece, it's more of like a feeling of like, yeah, I deserve that for being too greedy, as opposed to like, oh, you're stopping me from having my fun, right? Like it just, at the end of the day, like it so long as your table are all in agreement that like this is cool, then it's cool.
I very much agree with that if you are playing against these kind of like stronger decks. Like personally, so this is one big controversial opinion that I hold. I don't think opposition agents should be a game changer. Because if you're tutoring for stuff, then I think I should be able to just like fucking snatch that shit.
I agree, honestly. I really don't like opposition agent because of one simple reason, and that's the way it's worded. I don't like the design of opposition agent.
Yeah, I can see that.
The way it's worded, it lets you look at their hand because you're controlling them while they search the library. And that feels like a bug rather than a feature.
Yeah.
So I really dislike that part of the card. Like, it just feels so weird. Besides that, though, I really do think it's not that bad of a card. Because at the end of the day, the person it's hurting the most is the land ramp player at bracket 2. And then otherwise it's just not that good. And that's like a valuable game changer slot that can go to like an actually annoying card, right? Because you can only have so many game changers before it becomes like really difficult to track. And I think opposition agent is definitely one of the less egregious of those. Though keep in mind, Rachel Weeks disagrees with me. So like, and I respect her opinion a lot. So maybe I'm just like not valuing the effect of rampant growth at bracket 2, but I think like you can needle the green player a little bit.
I mean, for what it's worth, I think we already have way too many game changers. Like, I run, like at my LGS, I run the Friday Night Magic. And what I did is I set up like a matchmaking system for brackets. So players can sign up for a bracket and then get matched into tables for that bracket. And a problem that I have is that people sign up for bracket 2 and they just don't know their deck has a game changer. They're not malicious. They just don't know. Because they don't know all of the game changers. And that is with me making a list available right at the front table. Like there's a list right there and they still don't know because there's too many, because you can't just skim it really quickly. I'm definitely going into a bit of a different direction now. It's just a thought that popped into my head. Sorry, I have that tendency.
No, it's fine. Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right. I have some cards that I find. Oh, well, actually, one thing first I'm really interested in. You keep talking about your playgroup. So do you mostly play just like with an internal group of players?
I used to play with a lot more like of a diverse group, and now it's a lot more of like a single play group that I'm just kind of hanging out with, which is like the same, like, 6 to 8 people. And we just kind of play at our friend's place since our game store closed down.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. Sometimes we'll hop over to another game store and we'll play there. But yeah, no, typically we'll play Commander or we'll just play Cube. And it's the same group of people every single time. And as far as that affecting my deck and like, oh, does this insular play group really like make your deck weaker or whatever? The answer is actually kind of no, because like I build all of my decks to counteract Farewell as a card. It's just a card that I do not want to ever see in my entire life.
Farewell.
And keep in mind, none of my playgroup play Farewell. We hardly have a white player in our playgroup. It doesn't matter. I still put like all the phase out protection spells and all the mass exile, like slow exile, like the return on the end step protection spells.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, all my protection spells are built around Farewell. It doesn't matter that any of my playgroup don't play Farewell. I just always build around it because I know I'm going to play this deck at conventions. I'm going to play this deck at like, on spell table. And like when I do that sometimes I want to be ready for anything. So I always just keep my decks very diverse. I don't really tech for my meta too much. And when I do tech for my meta, it's a very versatile card that's really good.
No, I mean, I think that's perfectly valid. Like I kind of like do both. I play a lot with like one group of people, but I also play a lot with like kind of at my LGS. And something that I feel like is very beneficial from playing against the same group of people is that you kind of like push each other's limits a little bit. Because it's not necessarily just about like updating your decks. Like it's just like eventually better what those players will do and how they will behave and what cards are in the list. And so the gameplay automatically kind of moves to a higher level, and that puts like a certain stress on your decks that you don't get at just like a completely random table.
Oh yeah, there is my playgroup is very interactive. Like the amount of interactive spells is very high, and I don't like it when people touch my toys. So what I ended up doing in Kellen specifically was including Voice of Victory, Cutzil, and now on top of all that, Ranger Captain of Eos, right?
Yeah.
So these are three one's a silence effect, and then two are on your turn, players can't cast spells. Because a big play pattern issue I was noticing was when I was going to meld Brazella, someone would go, in response to the meld trigger, I blow up Bruna, right? Like you can kill, there's a window there at instant speed where you can blow up Bruna before they meld and ban all spells of mana value 3 or less. So I had to add all these like different like silence effects to like, no, don't touch me while I'm melding. It's my most vulnerable. And I needed them because my meta is super interactive like that.
I'm actually a bit surprised, like looking at your protection package, which I think is very, very big. Like, and you just kind of like explained why. But I looked at it and I was surprised to not see Baumi, a Warden of the Tower, in there. Is there any particular reason for that?
I don't like the Universes Beyond border. It's ugly. I would run Boromir. It's just ugly.
I actually so agree. I'm so glad that the new Universes Beyond cards just use the regular border, because like fuck it, Universes Beyond is here now. It's gonna be here to stay. At least make the border not ugly as sin.
Yeah, for 40K, I understood. It was like, oh, this is like a brushed metal kind of thing. Like it's like sci-fi, futuristic. Like, yeah, I get it. It looks like, and then they kept the border for Lord of the Rings, and I was confused. I was like, wait, isn't this the 40K border? Why are you using this like brushed sci-fi metal aesthetic for Lord of the Rings? I was so confused.
I absolutely agree, and I fully see it. Okay, but I have another suggestion for you. I'm just mostly curious to hear your input. Are you familiar with the card Glory?
Glory, that's the one that gives protection from a color, right? When you pay 2 and a white and it's in your graveyard.
Yes, exactly. I
thought that card's fine.
Not a big fan of it.
It's cool when I like it as another like, so I count whenever I attack with Kellen and I mill over Gisela.
Yeah.
I count that as drawing a card. Glory would be a lot of the same thing where like you attack and then Glory's on top of my library with Kellen, put that in my graveyard. I just drew a card. Like it's definitely fine. I think my main issue with it is that Grave Hate is pretty prevalent in my meta, and then like the moment I'm Grave Hated, it's like it kind of blows. And also, if it gets stranded in hand, I have no way of ditching it. It's like that's like the main sticking point for Glory.
Oh yeah, that's
like,
fair.
If I draw Glory, like actual factual draw it, I am peeved.
Okay, let's talk a bit about the cards that are in the deck that I am like that I'm interested in, that I am curious about. Ajani Sleeper Agent is your one Planeswalker in the list from what I can tell. And I am surprised it's here. Yes,
it's very hard to attack me in this deck, and it's also very hard to attack my Planeswalkers. Because if I have a Kudo out and any creature with a +1/+1 counter, which isn't hard with Kellen's Exploring and whatever, you just can't attack me, right? Like, I have a 3/3, all of your creatures are 2/2s. There's other things too, like this deck runs Fog Loops with Kami of False Hope, right?
How does the loop work?
So you have Eternal Witness Ephemerate, and you can Ephemerate Eternal Witness and get the Kami False Hope to fog once per turn, or once per turn cycle, rather. But basically, it's just like the blockers are very good. Like this deck is very strong. Champion of Lambholt is a huge monster that just you can't attack through. So Ajani's typically pretty safe. The thing is, I used to run Beast Whisper in Ajani slot, and then I was just like, Ajani would be a lot more fun. So I put Ajani in. Ajani typically draws a card, and he top deck manipulates better than Beast Whisper because this deck is heavily built around Eladamri. Eladamri, Korvac Doll, and Augur of Autumn let me play cards off the top of my library. So having Ajani just sitting there and just being like, +1, reveal the top card of your library, and then you can like put it in your hand. Like, Beast Whisper is better. Let's be clear. I just liked Ajani more because it was funny. I will not take Ajani out until I ult him. Once I ult him, I'll put Beast Whisper back in. But I want to kind of just play with Ajani for a while.
That's actually like great. Do you do that often, where you just kind of like have cards in a deck, you're looking for them to do something specific, and then once they've done that, then they can leave again?
I don't know. I think it's mostly just like me trying to push the boundary of my deck's cuteness. Because like Beast Whisper is just good. Like this card's great. I have like, 46 creatures in your deck. I think you should be put into a jail cell if your deck has more than 40 creatures and you're not running Beast Whisperer.
My Birds deck has more than that, and it ain't running Beast Whisperer because that ain't a bird.
That's true. I mean, yeah, that's like a fun reason not to. But yeah, it's always me just trying to push the limits. So like Cormella started a lot more low curve. Talking about another one of my decks, it started a lot more low curve. Like I was running Faithless Looting. I was running like a lot of these like 2 to 1 mana instants. Like I ran a lot of cantrips to, sift for card advantage and stuff. And I just kept replacing like a 2-drop and a 1-drop every day with like a 9-drop instant or sorcery. And I have not found the breaking point for Cormella yet. Like that deck is like the average mana value is currently 3. And it's because of like all the 9-drops I'm running.
That's excellent. I really appreciate that. People always say that, in Modern Commander, you can't play these super expensive spells anymore. And I always think to myself, like, did you try? Because, like, honestly, they work pretty damn well. Because, yeah, sure, we are in a new age where we have all of these other cheap, powerful things to do. But we can also use those cheap, powerful things to just get to 9 mana really quickly.
I typically like to start, like, with a pretty optimized deck that I know is just going to work. And then the more I play that optimized brew with like the safe card choices, the more I can be like, I can like pick out certain cards. It could be like, this could be a less optimal card that's more silly.
Are there generally restrictions that you place upon your decks as you build them? Like whether that be something like budget, or like are there specific cards that you definitely want to include so you construct a deck around it? Or like you keep saying that you like the cards to be cute. Like is that anything you can like specify?
I don't like to have a lot of overlap in my decks. So like, for example, this is my Bruna deck. I would not build another deck with Bruna Gisela in it because this is my Bruna Gisela deck, right? So like overlapping gameplay patterns, I don't really like to have those. The other major restriction is like, I do not feel comfortable building a deck that I wouldn't feel fine buying. And this also extends to my YouTube channel. I don't really like making videos about decks like about my decks that I've brewed unless I would feel comfortable buying them.
I mean, this deck is quite expensive though, isn't it?
It's like $400, yeah. But keep in mind, I bought Kellen at like $200, and then like I made those gradual adjustments over time. Like the $20 Ranger Captain of Eos was not in this deck originally. I already owned the Teferi's Protection that's in this deck. Right. So Solitude was not originally in this deck. I traded for that. Right. Like, so this deck started way cheaper and just slowly grew over time. That's what all my decks do really, is like, I make an initial investment of around $200 to $300. And then I slowly upgrade it over time whenever I have trades available, or there's like, it's something in my LGS. Like I can drop $20 on that this week. I don't know.
That's crazy to me. I'm not going to lie. Like you say you make an initial investment into your decks for like $200. Like when I start building my decks, I usually start them at $50. That's like I started 50 and I slowly go up over time.
Yeah. People's breakpoints are different. Like for me, I'm able to drop $200 on a deck. And right now I'm at the position where like, if I build a new deck, it's because an old one's coming apart.
Yeah.
Right. So I can just trade off those cards, and I have a lot of friends to trade with. So a lot of the money going into a deck isn't actually me dropping United States dollars on them. It's me like giving cardboard to my friend and they give me a different piece of cardboard, right?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely have that. I always joke with my friends that we kind of have this like weird communist attitude towards our magic cards, where if one of us needs a card, whatever, just take it. One thing that I found interesting is that you play Phyrexian Censor, but no other rule of law. From my experience, when I see a rule of law deck, it is a rule of law deck. Like it plays all of the rule of law effects. How come you only just have one, just in case?
Yeah, this is the great thing about tutors is I actually run multiple rule of law effects because I have Analyze the Pollen and I have Court of Calling and I have this green tutor package in this deck where I can pick it up if I really desperately need a rule of law against like a storm player or something. And the particular choice of Phyrexian Censor is because you can deploy Elish Norn Kudo through it.
Yeah.
Kudo's your non-Phyrexian spell, Elish Norn's your Phyrexian spell. Done.
I think that is very funny. Like when the Phyrexian Censor non-Phyrexian spell line somehow becomes relevant. That's always excellent.
I was brewing another deck with Jin Gataxias that was also doing the same thing with Phyrexian Censor, where you go Phyrexian Censor, 7-mana Jin Gataxias Progress Tyrant, which counters the first spell each turn that your opponents play. Non-creature, well, not non-creature, it's instant sorcery or artifact.
So, like, how much of a priority in your games is it to stop the other people from playing the game?
Oh, like 100% my priority is like that. I specifically want to do that in a way that's like hilarious. Like people like my decks generally, their builds, whatever. Because I don't know. I like playing with silly cards. Kellen, more than any other of my decks, has naysayers that are like, "Oh, you locked the game out? Oh, so fun." Like it doesn't happen until turn 7, and it's super fragile. Right? Like, I don't know what I can do to appease these people. I don't think I can, but like, it's funny because there's a difference between like hearing I have a lockout in my deck. Like that just like sends certain people into a fury. Like, oh, but like there's a very large spectrum of what lockouts look like. Like if you go Elish Norn, 7-mana Elish Norn into Awaken the Erstwhile, and then all of your opponent's 2/2 zombies that they made after discarding their hands explode and die. Like that's a little boring, I think. Here, though, I need Gaddock-Teeg, Gisela, Bruna, and even then, it's not a perfect lock. Like, Otawara still gets my ass. Solitude kills me. Ravenous Chupacabra, right? Like, there's outs to this game plan. I've had my Brazella across the board for me cloned by a clone spell, and I need a way to get a +1/+1 counter onto Brazella so I can start beating their ass without our Brazellas bouncing off each other.
I think it's very funny that you bring up Ravenous Chupacabra as like one of the outs.
It's a good card. People need to play it more. It is a good
card. It's just one of those cards that people don't take seriously.
Yeah, but there's a lot of outs. Dude, if you just drop like 17 dinosaurs into play and explode me, I have no recourse most of the time. Like that will just kill me.
It is interesting how I feel like actually like some of my dumbest decks, like I have these like carefully constructed, like well-built lists that are meant to play at a higher power level. And I feel like if you set up the lock against those, I'm dead. I ain't got shit, right? But if I'm playing my dumbass Hydra deck, where my entire plan is to pay 10 mana for a Hydra, I feel like you might have a problem.
You have hope. You have hope in that matchup. In fact, you might not even want to touch my Gaddock-Teeg or my Brazella, because you are benefiting off of it. I'm probably beating you to death in the air with it, though. But if you have a 10/10 Hydra with Reach, then I can't anymore. Yeah. And here's the thing. That Hydra deck also fucks up Elish Norn Kudo. Like, people always say, oh, Elish Norn Kudo is so broken. The moment any asshole puts a +1/+1 counter on their creature, I explode.
I like that. Like that's good. Great. Okay. And so I know if we play a game, right? Like when we play a game, I'm going to bring the Hydras.
Yeah, Hydra deck, I would need to have like the fog loop I described before, where I could like fog on your turn. Yeah. But then even then, it's like, it's super hard. Like this deck is good. Kellen is a very good deck. But the issue is like, yeah, there's just certain things like Miss Bumbleflower kicks my ass. I explode against Miss Bumbleflower because she puts so many +1/+1 counters on things that when I Elish Norn Kudo, it just doesn't do anything to the Miss Bumbleflower player.
When you are building a deck like this, you do like intentionally leave these gaps.
Yeah. I mean, there is a point where Kellen becomes unstoppable. Yeah. Right? It's like I have Kudo, Elish Norn, other Elish Norn, so your ETBs don't work, so not even Solitude gets me. Bruna, Gaddock Teague. I've gotten all of these in play before, and you are hard pressed to do anything, especially when I have Eternal Witness Ephemerate, and every single turn I'm buying back a protection spell. Like, you're just dead. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop me. But those games are maybe like 1 in 10 of the time. Most of the time, it's a lot more scrappy. Like, this deck doesn't always, like, it always melds Brazella. It doesn't always get Gaddock Teague alongside that, though. Or it doesn't always perform every lock that it has, right?
So how often would you say it actually gets there?
Melding Brazella for me counts as getting there. So every game, like I've melded Brazella just about every game I've played with this deck.
That's crazy because like that's just a lot of mana, right? Do people not see it coming? Do they not just like counterspell her?
Well, here's the thing. Bruna's a cast trigger. That's fine. I get the cast trigger on Gisela. Gisela's in play now. And then I just go, okay, next turn I'll go, I run Karmic Guide back Bruna. Yeah, like there's a lot of graveyard touching in this graveyard. I think it was my friend John who called this the most grave hateable Selesnya deck in the world. I run 6 too. 6 is very good at returning Bruna or Gisela.
Tell me more about 6. I am an enjoyer of that card.
Yeah, I added 6 relatively recently because there is a Legends deck, a Legends package in the deck with Thalia's Lancers and the Sariema, both of which can tutor legendary cards. So I run 6 in the deck for that reason, where I can go like, I can tutor for 6 if my spell got countered before, and then I can just discard a land and recast the stupid spell that got countered. And then also 6 mills for Analyze the Pollen purposes. Analyze the Pollen is a tapped land in my deck most of the time, but 20% of the time I've milled enough mana value that I can actually like tutor for a creature.
That's definitely a card that I think needs a lot more appreciation. Like it's so cheap. It's so good. It's so good. Really, I like the way you describe it. It's basically, it's an MDFC. You think about this like an MDFC that enters tapped. Just occasionally it searches out the best creature in your deck.
Yeah, exactly. So I run it as a land, and most of the time I use it as a tap land. And Traverse the Uvenwald is the exact same way. Like most green decks, I feel, would be able to fit Malevolent Rumble, Analyze the Pollen, Traverse the Uvenwald super easily. And then add on top of that maybe something like a Winding Way. And honestly, you don't need much more mill than that and a few fetch lands with Surveil lands, and you're off to the races. Like turn 4 or 5, you can start tutoring instead of using those as lands.
I mean, I don't really necessarily even think you need self-mill with these kinds of cards. I'm often happy to just play the creatures and have them get killed. But something else I'm wondering is like, how quickly does this deck actually like finish the game? Like, let's say you have your lock. So what happens next?
Oh, I just start killing you with a 9/10 flying first strike vigilance lifelink.
But is it at that point, have you usually already done enough damage that 9/10 is enough to get there? Like,
well, none of my opponents can cast any relevant spells. So yeah, it does the job over the next few turns. Most people think that this is really slow. It's not. I go attack you with Brazella. Okay, you've taken 9, I gain 9. Turn cycle of the table, which happens in the span of 4 seconds, because typically people just go, well, I can't cast anything in my hand, pass. Right? They go draw, pass, draw, pass, draw, land, pass. And then I go, okay, great, crack you for 9 with Brazella. Like, typically I'll end the game around turn 11 or 12, but at that point the lock's already in place, and it's just like I've just exploded with Brazella. And keep in mind, during this time too, if I ever draw Elish Norn, the 7-mana one, I just play it. I also just play Kudo if I draw it, and then I just start cracking with a bunch of 4/4s, and you don't have any creatures. Like, overall, like, the deck is very fast with a wide enough board. Like, I kill people in like 2 to 3 swings, because it's also most of the time not just Brazella attacking either. Like, where I feel like a big flyer like this, you'll typically want to pair with like a Duelist Heritage to give it double strike.
Yeah.
Here, I have infinite time. She basically has double strike because I just go to my next turn because you can't do anything. So yes, I have all the time in the world once the lock's in place. There's very few outs, and even if there is an out, I can always just cast the Teferi's Protection in my hand, right? Like, I do have a couple protection spells still in the deck that just like blank the outs as well.
All right. That's, I mean, it sounds brutal, and it sounds like something that you would enjoy.
Oh, I love it. I love Bruna. Bruna Gisela is my favorite. Like,
it's just also like the way
ever.
you kind of like talk about Magic and the way you describe the environment that you enjoy and the kind of like play patterns that you cultivate. It seems like this is a deck that's like tailor-made. Well, I mean, it is, right? You tailor-made it for yourself. It's really interesting to see like how much of that character can come out in these deck lists. I want to highlight, or like maybe you can tell us about this. You talked about this in your video as well, but I just think it's very funny. How does the Winds of Abandon combo work?
Okay, so Winds of Abandon is just a good card in this deck where it's just a 2-mana removal spell. It's 2-mana sorcery speed, Path to Exile, which is a pretty bad card. But you can overload it for 6 mana to target all of your opponent's creatures. Most of the time, I will overlord Winds of Abandon if my opponent's blockers are stopping a lethal swing. So like if I have lethal in play with Elesh Norn, I can Winds of Abandon your board and just kill you. That's most of the time I overload that card. Other times I overload that card is if I have the Bruna lockout, because it doesn't matter how many lands you have in play. You're not casting your spells anyway, so it doesn't matter how many lands you have. The third instance of Winds of Abandon being overloaded in this deck is with Aven Mind Sensor in play, which stops you from searching for each creature because you can only look at the top 4 for basics. And if you don't find a basic in the top 4, all of your exiled creatures you get nothing back for, which is hilarious. Sometimes I'll panic button it, but it's very rare that I've ever panic buttoned Winds of Abandon in this deck.
How does that actually work? Do you get like an individual search trigger for each creature exiled?
No.
One batch?
You get for each creature exiled this way, its controller searches their library for a base land card. I don't know if it's individual or not. I'm pretty sure it's not. I think it's one batch of searching the top.
Rulings doesn't say anything about it. Maybe the comments can tell us about that one. Because I honestly, I don't know either. I don't use that card. So I think that's a very interesting question right there. Because I feel like if it searches individually, right, like then the combo doesn't work as well
I'm pretty
anymore.
confident it's search for X cards, not search X times.
That would probably be less annoying. So that would be my guess too.
Yeah. So I think it works the way I want it to, which is just I Winds of Abandon you. You get to look at the top 4 to find basics to replace your creatures with.
Also, it's way funnier that way. So we'll just go with it.
Oh, yeah. It's way better with Opposition Agent, but sadly, I'm not in black. If I could splash one card into this deck, it would be Oppo.
Just, you know what? I like that. I think you should be allowed like one card as a treat. Like, whatever. All right. Well, thank you. That was absolutely fantastic to hear about your favorite deck. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish this today?
Oh my God. There's like infinite things I can talk about with this deck. It's kind of absurd how many like small niche things happen in this deck that come up.
All right, go ahead. Come on.
All right, so first things first. Kudo is in this deck not only because of Elesh Norn, but because it's just good with the strategy. And in fact, I cut a Cathar Commando, which is a flash 3/1 that like pay 1, destroy an artifact or enchantment. I replaced it with Qasali Pride Mage because I would get Kudo so often. And Kudo plus Exalted makes blocking so annoying. It like you swing with Kellen and it's a 3/3. Do you want to block with your 2/2/2s and I get my choice of which one I kill? Because I don't care if Kellen goes back to the command zone. Fuck him. Like, who cares about Kellen? So I put Qasali Pride Mage in over that because it still blows up an artifact or enchantment. It loses flash, but it gains Exalted, which is super important for Kudo and protecting my attackers. I had a board state once with Kudo, Qasali Pride Mage, and Voice of Victory. And that's the reason why Grand Abolisher isn't in this deck, but Voice of Victory is because I can, with Kudo, Voice of Victory makes 2/2/2s and is a 2/2. So I just start swinging for 7 with Kudo plus Qasali because the Voice of Victory gets the Exalted trigger. And then I make 2/2/2s that are tapped and attacking. And then you have a bunch of 2/2s. Are you going to block my ephemeral 2/2 tokens to save some life? Probably not, right? Like your creatures are more valuable than that. We were talking a bit about Spirit of the Labyrinth earlier, which stops players from drawing more than one card each turn. Lorn of the Third Path in the deck is a one-sided card draw engine with that in play. So Lorn of the Third Path is just like an Elvish Reclaimer, right? Like you just blow something up. But then like in the games where you do draw Spirit of the Labyrinth and deploy it, not only do you have Kellen drawing you cards, you can't see the air quotes around drawing, but because Kellen puts them in your hand, he doesn't draw the cards. You have Lorn as well, which you activate on your opponent's turn after their draw step, and then you draw a card and they don't. So it's just like a Phyrexian Arena kind of on top of the Elvish Reclaimer mode. Bruna, I talked a bit about having Karmic Guide as a reanimation spell in the deck. And the reason why is not only because of Ephemerate and Felia, but also because Bruna reanimates any angel or human creature. So you can Bruna for Karmic Guide and then reanimate Elesh Norn, right? Like you can reanimate anything by going through Karmic Guide.
That's really cool, yeah.
Karmic Guide I've had in play before with 5-mana Elesh Norn. I'm actually running 5-mana Elesh Norn as a Null Rod that's one-sided. Like, I don't have that many ETBs in the deck. I have a few, like the Sariema is very good, and Karmic Guide is one. But like when you go like Karmic Guide into your Elish Norn and reanimate 2 objects, it's so dumb. It's incredibly stupid. Eladamri is heavily built around. In fact, I cut one of the 3 mana ramps. I used to have Topiary Stomper, which was a rampant growth on a creature's body.
Yeah.
And I actually cut that for Elvish Harbinger. Because Elvish Harbinger is just a dork. It's 2 and a green for a mana dork. A 1/2 mana dork. But it also says when it enters, you may search your library for an elf card, reveal it, put it on top of your library, then shuffle. Or shuffle and then put it on top. And then you attack with Kel and put Eladamri into your hand. Because Eladamri is just that good.
You know, this just reminded me of something. Like a friend of mine started playing, what is that one elf called that taps for as much mana as there are elves in play?
Priest of Titania.
Yeah, right. He just started playing that even in non-elf decks because he's like, other people are going to be playing mana dorks. So mine is going to, he's going to tap for more. And I don't know, that just reminded me of that. I just think that's very funny.
There's one other like really funny thing. I actually cut Swords to Plowshares from this deck. And I put in Werefox Bodyguard instead. And it is otherworldly how good that card is in this deck. So Kellen draws it, doesn't draw Swords to Plowshares. It can be used as a protection spell. So this is another Farewell Stopper where I can go like exile my Brazella with Werefox Bodyguard, and then you farewell. The Werefox Bodyguard gets exiled. I get Bruna and Gisela back into play, and I can meld them on my end step. Right? Like there's actually like so many play patterns for this card in this deck where like, yes, the card is worse than Swords to Plowshares, but given the context of the deck, this has a lot more of a wide application.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily always just have to be about whether a card is necessarily better or worse, right? I feel like Werefox Bodyguard just fits way better into what the deck is trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. I made a video recently talking about the upgrades to this deck, and I was talking about why I cut Swords to Plowshares for Werefox, and I had a few comments pushing back going like, Werefox Bodyguard is the infinitely worse card. And it's like, no, it's not strictly worse. It just has different applications. Like if you have Swords to Plowshares in your hand and your opponent casts that Farewell into your board, Swords to Plowshares doesn't do fucking anything for you. Yeah. Whereas Werefox Bodyguard can protect one of your gameplay pieces, right? Werefox Bodyguard with Elish Norn lets you exile 2 things instead of 1, which is stupid. Right? There's just so many more interesting applications for Werefox Bodyguard than is Swords to Plowshares. Also, I mentioned earlier, I cut Generous Gift. I meant Beast Within. I cut Beast Within from the deck. Draven Charm. That was a meta call. My
that was a meta call?
Love touching their graveyards.
Yeah. Okay.
It's also just really good. I think Thraben Charm generally is on par with a Beast Within.
I mean, like, it kind of like has different utility, right? Like, I feel like one of the things about Beast Within and Generous Gift, about those 2 cards specifically, is just like really they hit everything. And that's tricky to really bypass. Or like to
-1 mana though.
Yeah, that's right. Like,
and you can Grave Hate. You can't Grave Hate with the other cards. Like Thraben Charm is actually so goated.
Yes, that's like, again, like I fully see, and like you say that, you know, like graveyards are a big problem for you, or definitely something to be considered, I suppose, at the very least. And in that scenario, yeah, then Thraben Charm seems fantastic. A friend of mine will never cut his Beast Within because I play bounce lands, and every time I play a bounce lands, he fucking Beast Within.
No, that's awesome though.
And I always complain because is that MLD? Is that MLD?
Yeah, I know. You just got rocked, man.
Yeah,
it's time to cut the bounce lands.
I ain't cutting the bounce lands. You can take the bounce lands from my cold dead hands. I ain't cutting them.
The reason why I cut Beast Within for Thraben Charm, I really feel like this really illustrates like the amount of like neurosis I have while building a deck. I cut Beast Within from this deck for Thraben Charm, not only for another piece of graveyard interaction, but also because of white count for Solitude. Going -1 green card, +1 white card for Solitude.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, I think. That's not even, like, that's just, like, good, solid deck building, I think, right? Like, you gotta really think through, how do I get the most out of every single card? And in this particular list, like, you're playing Solitude, you have to decide between cutting Generous Gift and Beast Within. I mean, obviously, the Beast Within goes. Like, I feel like it's not even a question.
Yeah, this deck, like, lives or dies on, like, a razor-thin edge. Like, I've had games where I've lost it because I didn't look at the top. I forgot to look at the top card for Eladamri and like cast that before doing my other spells. Like I cast the wrong spell. Like I should have cast this thing on top instead of from my hand. Right. Like I've had games like that where it's just like, there's like these little micro decisions that are literally like like you forgot to draw one card off of a thing. Like you didn't tap Lauren here when you should have, or you didn't do this other thing with Eladamri and the top deck manipulation and stuff. Like you didn't do the top deck manipulation in the right order. I have lost games to that.
I feel like you have like a very quintessential white deck here. I know it's Celestia, but it really relies quite heavily on white, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the big things that I feel like is important to understand about white decks, especially these kind of like white creature-focused decks, is that a lot of it is about keeping your board alive. It's not just about getting it on the board, but it's keeping it there. Because if it ever gets fully removed, then you're in trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you have so much protection in that regard, right? So I can definitely see how if you make a mistake, right? If you, as you said, you walk that thin edge and then you tapped out in a way where you then did end up getting caught by a board wipe like that, how that can definitely be a huge problem.
This deck does run into a problem sometimes where like if you get like caught with your pants down, your board is wiped, you can really struggle for like 2 to 3 turns to rebuild. Like this deck lives or dies based on whether or not it lives through a board wipe. And currently as it's built, it's almost impossible to wipe. But if it does get through, like I've had games where I'm like, I have 2 board wipes I'm facing off against here. So I've just held up 2 protection spells for my board instead of taking my turn. And like I was rewarded for that. Or like you have a counter spell and you're going to counter spell my protection spell. I know this. I always joke about telepathy, the enchantment that reveals your opponent's hands. Your opponents will just reveal their hands to you if you know what to look for.
Yes.
Like this player's always conspicuously holding up 1 to 2 blue mana every turn and not curving out to the maximum. They're holding up a counterspell. This player's not developing the board. They have a board wipe. So when I have that like math planned out in my head, I'll always just go like, I'm going to hold up 2 protection spells because you're going to counter my shit and you have the board wipe.
Somebody just asked if something is a triggered or activated ability. Well, I guess they have a stifle.
Oh, the moment the words like, what's the highest toughness on board? I'm like, you have Blasphemous Act, you're talking to Deluge. It's
how many creatures out here?
Yeah, you don't. So anyway, long story short, you don't need telepathy. You know what your opponents have in their hands.
Yeah, you gotta pay attention to that. All right. Well, I think at this point, I'm actually gonna have to call it. We've been going for quite a while. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been a blessing to have you there here. I really, really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, I love talking about my decks.
Yes, and I mean, if we find another opportunity, I would be happy to talk about the other one that you were so close to bringing.
Yeah, I know. It's like picking my favorite kid. Like, it's not impossible, but it is very hard.
I honestly don't. I gotta be honest. I don't know which deck I would bring here. Like, if somebody were to do what I'm doing to you, I don't know what I would choose. So I fully get you on that.
I think there's a 5-way tie for like my actual favorite deck. It's kind of messed up.
Damn, that's a lot. How many do you have? Like, how many IRL proper decks do you have?
Well, I'm taking Tekkathal apart. I'm probably going to give Roxanne to a friend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8-ish. I would say closer to 7 than 8 though, because this other one I don't really play that much. The Emrakul deck. Yeah, I've had my fun with that.
So I think so. You really like make an effort to make sure that the decks that you have IRL are really decks that you like to play, that you like really use all the time.
Oh yeah, if a deck sits on the shelf for too long, I'll end up just taking it apart and like scrapping it for parts and stuff. Yeah. Like that's what's happening to Tekkathal right now. That Urza Saga is coming right out of that deck and going into my lands deck. Yummy. Free Amulet of Vigor for me.
Delicious Urza Saga. Very good. All right. Well, I think I'll call it here. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. I would definitely appreciate that. And don't forget to check out my Patreon where you can support me directly. There's a link down in the description. Also in the description, you can find a link to Elk's channel. Thank you again for coming on, as well as the deck list that we were discussing. Also, let me know who you would like to see on the show next, maybe even with a specific deck. I already have a bunch more of these queued up. Turns out people are excited to talk about their decks. I don't know. What a surprise, I suppose. Magic players like talking about their Magic decks. So yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.